Hello everyone. Today we have with us Mr. Sunil Yadav, who is co-founder of X-BIZ Techventures, and he's also the MD of SecureNexus, the cybersecurity division of X-BIZ Techventures. Welcome, Sunil, and we are very happy to have you here. What we want to know, or what the viewers would like to know, is if you could tell us about your journey into cybersecurity and how did it all begin. They'd be really interested to know.
Sure. Thank you very much for having me here. My journey to cybersecurity is kind of a unique story. I started off with a big dream of playing cricket at a very good level. I had good fitness, knack for the game of cricket, but somewhere I realized that I was really not the best guy to put in effort on the field, right? So I was kind of a bit lazy, I would say, and I realized my importance that skill alone cannot take cannot guarantee a success to anyone. So I had to look out for different options. So technology, I was very fond of computers from my school days, so even in my college I was very much interested in doing programming. So I used to write programs. That's the only thing that I used to do a lot. So I thought that I'll explore computers. So started writing programs, developing softwares on my own, right? So when I was in college, I actually built a e-commerce website, right? And that's how it all started. So I started with programming. But my transition from cricket to cybersecurity is again, it was not easy. But one thing I always say that, so cricket taught me a couple of skills. So one is putting aggression at the right place, the team management or team spirit, the winning attitude, right, and staying in the process is what I learned, and that I apply in today's. I apply it on a daily basis, but that actually I applied when I moved to cybersecurity.
Right.
One thing I knew that whatever happened with me and whatever my commitment was in cricket, is that if I move with the same attitude, it's not going to work out in this field as well. So then I decided I need to put in more additional effort. So I started off with as a dev. Then I got an opportunity with my first company that I was working with to do some random research, right? They were bidding for projects. I did some hacker stuff, which I was not sure that is something that is hacking. So I just reverse engineering some DLL and replaced it with the modified one, and then it popped up some alert. And so the people around me saw that you can do a lot of things because you have a dev background.
Right.
And that's one of the things that today also I'm going to talk about more of why you should have a dev background when you move to cybersecurity. So development background really helped me. So I was developer not even for a year, honestly.
Now that you are in a cybersecurity space and you have also established a cybersecurity company which is catering to top banks and corporates, which is a big deal, especially when you think about cybersecurity for any layperson. What we understand and what we think is okay, how to be secure digitally where you are, right? So there are a lot of tools which are used for that, and there are a lot of things. So when you set up a company, what was the major thing that was going on in your mind in terms of what exactly were you looking at delivering for these corporates or for these top banks?
So when we started SecureNexus, one of the key things that we had in our mind is there are so many tools in the market, right? And a lot of companies rely on having tools, right? And there are so many vendors which develop tools and they acquire those tools, and But one thing we wanted is to have one company which has its own tools. So we have an attack surface monitoring, software composition analysis, cloud security posture management tool, right? And a lot of GRC suites, one-stop solution. Along with that, we also wanted to have a very good skill team which is research oriented, right? And they are very good at finding neat and ridiculous vulnerabilities.
Okay.
Right? So if you see wherever we work, we keep getting more projects just because the kind of quality, the kind of bugs, call it as neat and ridiculous vulnerabilities we discover. That's my motivation behind starting.
Right, got it. So what are the recent trends that you notice in the cybersecurity space that you perceive as threats coming in, and then you are trying to find solutions to those?
Right. So if you talk about recent trends, like recently, if you've seen a lot of social media posts talk about deepfakes, right? People misusing the large language models like or GPTs and creating fake videos, fake audios, and do social engineering attacks. A bunch of other attacks are happening, but that's more of like at an individual level that people target. If you think about the organization, for them the biggest threat I personally see is a ransomware, right? Because the moment they get hit by ransomware, and if they don't have a proper backup recovery strategy around it, I think it takes them behind, right? At least it screws them up, right? So I've seen a lot of companies suffering ransomware attack without having a proper capacity planning, backup response. They struggle to get into, right, to get their systems up and running, right? So especially companies which are doing online business, imagine if their systems are going down for 2-3 days, it's going to be a big loss then, right? So ransomware is one of the risks that I still see as one of the biggest risks, right? Then you have the risks more of like someone exploiting vulnerabilities in the APIs, in the application, exploiting your infrastructure. Even cloud is one of the risks. Like even like subtle mistake in cloud can take you out of business. There's so many interesting case studies around the internet that due to cloud misconfigurations, the companies are actually out of business.
Right. Any incidents that you can think of that you can quote?
So in terms of hacks, especially in cloud, I remember one interesting case study on how one of the project management company was out of business just because their AWS keys or probably credentials got leaked out, and attacker got access to their AWS console. Then he started demanding ransom, and then the company tried to recover the AWS account. Then he started deleting their data, right? And I think it was 2-3 days, but probably more. They were out of business because the people who were using their software, they were not able to use it. And then the company decided that the time that they will take to recover the money plus the SLAs that they sign, or the amount of money that they will get penalized for, would take them in a reverse direction. So they started to shut down the business. That's what the case study says. But I've seen many case studies where the data getting leaked out because of misconfigurations, because it's cloud, right? It's especially if you're in public cloud, there are multiple players right there, right? So you have to be on your toes all the time to ensure that your cloud configurations are pretty secured. You have a right set of monitoring in place, right? If any anomaly happens, you have prevention mechanism in place.
Yeah, so the risk is huge, the threats are there, they are very real. So obviously when we look at cybersecurity space, it's an in-demand requirement, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
So to be able to know and to be able to protect or prevent these cyber attacks, every one of the organizations require the cybersecurity expertise or the experts tools to be able to do so. Right.
Yes.
So that's definitely a need area.
That's what every organization needs. It has to be a combination of tools, techniques, and people around it. Tool alone cannot fight all. Can help you prevent.
Right.
You need people who can help you discover vulnerabilities, who are smart enough to identify the flaws and help you patch the vulnerabilities. Right. At the same time, tool is also very important, especially it helps you automate a lot of things. Something that if you try to do it manually will take longer time, tool does it in like few minutes or hours.
Right.
Other trend that I would like to talk about is the supply chain related attacks, software supply chain related attack. It's a very interesting attack, right? So if you see softwares, most of the softwares that you see that are built rely on some of the other third-party softwares, right, or other libraries that are being used, right? And if those libraries are injected with some malware or malicious code, which you don't have control over it, you only use it as a library, right? Then that can lead to supply chain attacks.
Right.
So as a dev, if you're writing a piece of code, you will handle your code, right? You will look into.
There's a library.
You will be responsible for securing your code. But if you're using some library, right? Probably not many people look into the libraries, right? What type of library they are using. If it solves their problem, they'll use it as is. They'll not even bothered about updating the library to the latest version.
Right.
Right. And if that library has some malicious code in them, then
you're done.
It will directly affect the application. There are so many interesting case studies on the internet. Like SolarWinds was one of the case studies of where software supply chain was exploited.
Sunil, what steps can an organization take to minimize the cybersecurity threats?
Well, that's a very interesting question. Right. Today, if you have seen most of the organizations which are security conscious, they have all the tools, techniques in place. Right. I've seen many companies simply rely on having tools. Right. They think that placing a tool makes them secure, but that's not true. If the tools are not being configured properly, then it becomes useless. Right. But in order to secure an organization, it should be a layered approach.
Okay.
Right? So along with the technology, you should also ensure that the people who are working within the organization or your employees, they're also aware about cybersecurity. Right? I can give you many examples that the clients that we work with, that we do a phishing simulation attack for them. And they have all the tools and techniques in place. Like they have external attack surface monitoring tool that they use from us, scanning all their internet assets. They do internal scanning, they do software composition. So a mature cybersecurity company, what did they do? They have all the tools and technique in place, continuous security testing, like even before any changes goes live, it goes through security sessions.
Right.
So they do a mature level of software security in place. But when we do phishing simulation, we find that the employees still fall for phishing attacks. They end up sharing their credentials.
Okay.
So what does that mean is, when you have, if your employees are not aware about phishing attacks, they'll essentially leak out credentials. An attacker can simply get into the organization by utilizing their credentials. So whatever tools and techniques that you have placed in, that will all become useless because the human firewall is down.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And they sometimes becomes the weakest link in the whole chain also.
Right.
So it has, as I mentioned, it has to be technology and people oriented. Right. People should be.
Yeah, which means that people need to be made aware and given the right training.
Yeah.
To be able to mitigate any kind of risk and threats that come their way. The question that comes to my mind is, how do you stay updated on the latest, trends in cybersecurity threats and vulnerabilities space?
So there's so many sources available on the internet. Most of them are for free. Like I prefer using Twitter, following the right channel, right, that provides near real-time feeds, to be precise, and that's one of the things. Then following some forums on the internet and participating in discussions online helps me get more information about what is happening in the cybersecurity space.
Right.
But the first way that I look for is Twitter.
So latest.
Yeah. So I have different hashtags created, and I monitor those hashtags like cybersecurity, 0 days, CVEs, right? The keywords that I search for. And I have a couple of websites which helps me get RSS feed for the latest vulnerabilities also. Yeah. So that's what I do. And apart from those, I do a lot of research. Right? So I pick up one topic, try to do research, see if I can find any vulnerabilities in them. And so that keeps me. But more or less, the sources are Twitter and those. also.
Yeah, so that sort of gives you where the incident has happened and it's very recent, right? How do you also, like within this space, just to take this question a little further, do you apply any of this back into your business when you get to know about, let's say, this is what is happening in this space and this looks like a new trend that's happening? Do you apply what you've learned from there or what you've known from there back into the business?
Absolutely. So we have a threat intel team within our organization. So they keep monitoring all these channels, right? So let's say if there's a vulnerability being discovered in one of the products, right? So they basically take that feed into our product and find out which all our clients are using those products. Right?
Okay.
From our external attack surface management tool, and we notify them immediately. And the customer who opted for continuous testing, right? So we do assessment and basically try to see if this can be exploited, and we provide them the report.
Yeah, because it also gives me a sense that this is a continuous process, right? It's an ongoing continuous process because every day new threats are coming up, every day new vulnerabilities are being discovered. So any professional in the field would need to stay updated, right, and would need to go with the latest that is happening, right, so that they can mitigate all those risks. Right. So what exactly is ethical hacking and how does it improve overall cybersecurity?
Well, very interesting question. So ethical hacking is essentially an activity. It has different terminology, like some people call it as security testing, security assessment, VAPT, a bunch of other terminologies are being used. But this is the activity that is done by experts, right? Where the organization in need of cybersecurity, they approach cybersecurity companies, right? They might have an in-house people also to do this, but like we do ethical hacking or security testing for many organizations. And the goal is to identify weaknesses or loopholes that are there within their assets. It could be application, it could be infrastructure. Identify them and help them fix those issues before a real world adversary could identify and exploit them.
Right.
Right. So you actually work like a real world adversary, but do it for good, right? Not for bad things.
So you are trying out the problems and you're finding out the problems before anyone else finds out that problem, and you find a solution to that. That's what you do.
And we help them remediate those issues. Right? We give them recommendations and the team fixes it. So if it's an infrastructure issue, infrastructure guy will fix it. If it's an app issue, the app guy will fix it. So it'll have a clear instructions on how to remediate the issues.
Okay, right. Okay, yeah. Thank you for sharing that. So for a lay person, for a common man who wants to understand the ethical hacking world, if we were to simply say that, okay, this is a role where they go and dig for problems, correct, and bring it out and tell the organization, look, you have these issues and problems, and basically in the cybersecurity space, and then the organization needs to get convinced, which is where your communication and persuasion skills come in, right? And once that is done, then solutions are looked for, and then everybody needs to arrive at the consensus to apply those solutions to fix the problems. Right? All right. Makes sense. Yeah. Makes sense then.
And most importantly, you get paid for.
You get paid for doing this. Finding out. So anyone who's interested in challenges, anyone who's interested in finding out, solving puzzles, if I say, finding out problems and finding solutions to those issues. So problem solving as a skill is an important part, right? Which is required with the cybersecurity domain.
In fact, if you look at the application, the guys who do application testing, there's so many variety of apps. Each of them have different functioning, right? And then understanding the application functioning itself is a skill, right? You get to learn different application, or you can learn different domain, you get different domain knowledge. So like if you're doing an testing for insurance based app, you learn insurance process, right? How the online insurance works, right? What happens in the whole process. If you're working on that specific area, like, or with that client, if you're working with banking, you get to know a lot many processes around banking, right? So it also gives you the domain knowledge, and it's specifically, it helped me in personally to build the softwares.
Right.
So I used to see the flow of the software, how it is actually flowing, how the validations are happening, how well the data is being presented, and that technique I apply in our products.
Right.
So,
when you're creating them.
Yeah. So I don't create UI UX in the flow, but at least I have learned something from there, and I try to apply here that how the software that are used by many people should be, right?
Right. And so if a person gets into a company at a cyber security analyst role initially, what would be the career roadmap like for them, and how far can they go in their career domain, career path?
Yeah, and it's very important to understand, like, because when you move to any specific domain, right, the career growth path has to be clearly defined. Right?
Absolutely.
One should understand like how. So for cybersecurity person who's starting their career, they'll start with cybersecurity analyst. They gain more exposure. They'll move on to the manager level where they manage cybersecurity practices, right? And then there's a bunch of options that they can explore. So from manager they can go to head of security. They can become product security engineers. It's a very interesting area, by the way, product security engineer. Then they can move to lead compliance head. They can become CISO within the organization.
CISO is
Chief Security Officer.
Yeah.
Chief Information
Security Officer. That's the highest level.
Yeah, inside.
I would imagine in cybersecurity domain that will be someone at the C-suite.
Yeah, and then you have a risk head also, right?
Yeah, someone at the C-suite level. Yeah. All right.
Depending upon which area you choose, but CISO plays a very important role within the organizations, right? So their job is to secure the overall organization, right, from cyber threats.
And the larger it is, the greater the responsibilities are, and you would need to make the right decisions at the right time to be able to perform and to be able to secure, as we say, the people and the organization itself when it comes to the cybersecurity part. Yeah, great. What are the prerequisites, or what are the things that a career aspirant into the cybersecurity domain needs to have to enroll into a course, which, let's say, or a training that you would be looking at providing?
Well, ideally, one with passion should enroll it. Doesn't matter what degree you have. So I've worked with experts who are college dropouts.
Okay.
So, but I'm not trying to set up that example that drop out of a college and but they didn't have an option. But they are very well known in the industry, right? But very few examples, right? And let's not get motivated with little examples, right?
Yeah.
Let's look at the masses. So you need to have a graduation degree at least, right? And it doesn't matter which stream it is.
Okay.
Right? If you know little of computers, right, you can get started with it. Even if you don't have a background of computer, you can learn computers, right? Rest the course will take care for you, and because we have designed the course in such a way that you get more learnings, right? But
so you're starting from the fundamentals and moving slowly, step by step, covering each aspect of cybersecurity and each domain cybersecurity, and then you progress them so that if they have to reach the CISO level, they have the understanding to know what is what, right, to be able to guide others. And but initially when they begin, do they begin at a particular specialized role, or do they have the ability to use all of what they learn?
So they can begin ideally, if you go in an organization, they will get an opportunity to run on specific area. Okay. Right. So if someone is interested in monitoring, right, they'll probably move to the SOC area and look at the monitoring specific activities. Someone is good in app, they will move into the application security side. Right. That's how they start. but slowly they get more opportunities, right? And they get to explore more areas. Right? So, but my advice to them would be, don't stick to one area, keep exploring others. Right? That's what we will teach in the course, that we will equip you with all the the domain knowledge that you should have for cybersecurity, and then you choose which one you want, but explore all those areas, right? Because software is not just built on application code, right? There's an infrastructure around it, right? If your infrastructure is in cloud, you should know cloud, right? If your infrastructure is hosted internally data center, you should know how the data center is structured, right?
So that's how they would need to, and that's what will make them grow. That's what you're saying.
Yeah.
Right. All right. Got it. Thank you very much. That was Sunil, our technology leader from the cybersecurity domain. We thank him for taking time out to share valuable information and insights with us. If you're interested in finding out about cybersecurity as a career path for yourself, get in touch with us.